show. I'm not gonna fuck with the lighting at all, so you can just leave the spotlight on. I was gonna do something, but I changed my mind. Give it up for everybody you saw, huh, guys? Yeah, we're having fun. I gotta load up my story here. Very, very unprofessional. So that's why I'm going last, guys. Okay, so my piece is tentatively entitled "The Golden Age of Kids," and we're about to get real sultry, everybody. It's about to get brought down, okay? Having recently been dumped by his first love, Winnie Cooper. Broken-hearted Kevin Arnold took it upon himself to try and mend the relationship she so quickly abandoned for the embrace of another boy. In a desperate attempt to win back his former love, Kevin convinced his best friend Paul Pfeiffer to throw a party where Kevin fantasized of getting Winnie alone, visualizing himself suavely working sensual magic on her and winning back her heart. But as Kevin would soon find out, Winnie had her own plans for this party, and those plans didn't include Kevin, but rather her new boo Roger. With the sad realization that he would be throwing a party for the girl he thought he loved and her new boyfriend, Kevin decided that the only way left to win her back was by making his former love jealous. I was armed with the best looking date at the party. I was feeling pretty confident. I was ready for anything, and that's when Anything walked into the party with Mr. Anything. No sense putting this off any longer. It was time to fight fire with fire. Kevin led his date over toward Winnie and Roger. The two couples exchanged awkward introductions and forced smiles when Paul interrupted right as Kevin thought he was beginning to make Winnie jealous. The tension between both couples had peaked, and being ignorant to this uncomfort, Paul offered the group spinach dip, unknowingly stepping on Kevin's plans. Oh. Rats. Foiled by a spinach dip. The gauntlet was down. I had to stand out. I had no choice but to come to the life of that party. I danced with the band and I answered the question on everybody's lips. Is there life after Winnie Cooper? You better believe it! It was amidst all the dancing and failed attempts at making Winnie jealous while simultaneously losing the interest of my own date, Madeline, that I realized that it was never the affection of Winnie I so desperately yearned for. What I saw in her was merely an escape from my true feelings. A way to silence my true self. How could I have been so blind all these years as to who it was I truly desired? How was it that my feelings went unnoticed for so long, or better yet, how it took an idiotic journey of redemption to lead me into the arms of my best friend Paul? Kevin and Paul locked eyes on the dance floor and gazed knowingly at one another. The two blushed, and as if having spoke telepathically, they followed each other into Paul's room. The door slammed shut. Paul pushed Kevin in the wall and began primally kissing and licking and biting all over the lips and neck of a shocked but eager Kevin. That was the first moment I remember being completely happy. The feeling of Paul's thick black glasses rubbing against my cheek as he nibbled and sucked on my neck. It was then that I knew what joy was. The two young, very aroused boys began viciously ripping off and throwing each other's clothes onto the floor while so passionately kissing and sucking and biting on each other's lips and tongues. Kevin pulled down Paul's tweed dungarees and blinding whitey-tidies violently dropped into his knees with the desire that only Paul's hairless ninth-grade boner could fulfill. Kevin filled his mouth with Paul's throbbing juke dick, cramming in as much of it as could as if he was dying of thirst, and Paul's magnificent thundercock was a hose from which life would flow and nourish Kevin's dehydrated soul. His thirst quenched, Kevin was now hungry for something exotic. And Paul was eager to fill his appetite. Kevin threw Paul on his bed, his bare supple passion fruit of an asshole gently winking at Kevin as his fuck sword throbbed with anticipation. Kevin spit on his hand and viciously slathered his trembling pole hammer with the slimy lubricant expelled from his throat. Paul looked back at Kevin and exclaimed, "My fecal burrito needs a hot beef injection!" I don't do voices. He followed this sentiment quickly by dropping his face into his bed and biting down on his sheets as he eagerly awaited Kevin's touch. Before mashing his virgin midget arm into Paul's glistening cum dumpster, Kevin massaged Paul's bamboo shoot. With his tongue sending Paul into a heightened state of euphoria, Kevin grabbed his cock and jammed it inside of Paul, now wearing Paul as an erotic meat sweater. Paul threw his head back in bliss, almost instantly secreting a geyser of salted God disappointment from his cock. Kevin kept thrusting, harder and faster. Every thrust causing beads of feces-laden sweat to drip down the supple, milky white thighs of Paul. Kevin's continual plunging began giving the passionately concocted slime the appearance of snow that had been made slushy and beige from the tires of cars and the filth of the city streets. While having the warmth and consistency of a slowly simmered roux. That's for you, Mom. Paul looked back and the two became lost in the other's eyes. Kevin's thrusting became more erratic, his body tightening with every motion. He grabbed onto Paul's hips, pulling him closer, ensuring his cock was rib deep in Paul as he climaxed. He came with his entire life force, his body shaking spastically like Michael J. Fox on a mechanical bull. He came with importance, with meaning, turning the inside of Paul's rectum into his own private Idaho. But this release wasn't enough for Kevin. He wanted more. He pulled his still pulsating, frothy, steaming, gooey duck out from within the depths of Paul's passion pit and began sucking and slurping his freshly made dollop of daisy out from within Paul's swollen, puckering shit cunt. Kevin moved away from Paul's gaping den of iniquity, pulled Paul's face toward his, and they feverishly sloshed and swallowed Kevin's seed within each other's mouths before collapsing onto one another in sensual bliss. While gently panting on Paul's bed, they drew close, gazing one final time into each other's eyes before sharing a lover's embrace as the moon filled the room with light. Yeah, it's beautiful. That night we talked about life, about our times together. Maybe we weren't the two same kids we'd once been, but some things never change. Some things last. And even though I didn't know what was going to happen to us or where we were going, I just knew that I couldn't let him or his mouth-watering fart cavern out of my life. Goodbye.